Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Golden Sombrero Show live on BlazeRadioOnline.com. Cole Bradley is MIA tonight. Had a lot of work to do as we as seniors will have a lot of extracurriculars going on, typically have to do. So it's just going to be myself, Dominic Stern, and my dear friend Ryan Blanket on the show talking about the latest in baseball. And we don't have as much to talk about because there hasn't been as much baseball as of late, but we do have a World Series matchup.
Yes, we do.
The championship series, there was only 9 games across 2 series. It was disappointing, especially if you come from one of the 2 fan bases that were eliminated this weekend, as I do. It was tough, but
this is your time.
Yeah, best season of my Padres life. I mean, I come from a fan base that has been absolutely brutalized by the game of baseball. It's losing season after losing season. And there were so many things that went wrong during the season. There were so many lows, but the Padres just kept fighting. They had to deal with injuries, not to the extent of a lot of teams, but it played 0 games with its best player, and they had to deal with a lot of the distractions that went along with that. So very thankful for the Padres that they were able to put together not only a winning season, they made it to the playoffs in front of fans for the first time since 2006. I was there. You were by my side for that. That was a really cool experience, and it was kind of lucky that we were able to be there because if it didn't happen that day or 2 nights before when I happened to be in Southern California for Blaze Radio broadcasting football, I wouldn't have been able to witness that. And it was a really cool moment. And I just wanted to thank the players. It was a special season. It sucked that it ended after just 5 games in the NLCS. But as far as they've made it in my life, it was easily the best season of my life. Also wanted to thank all of my friends, including yourself, Ryan, who have been supporting the Padres throughout this postseason run. The amount of texts I got congratulating me, even though I did absolutely nothing.
Hey, you've been through a lot with the Padres.
Yeah, 100%.
You deserve a congratulations.
But after the Padres dethroned the 111-win Dodgers in the NLDS that I was there for, that was easily the best moment of my Padres life. Hopefully there's better moments ahead, but I can't say for sure. It was awesome, and thank you to all my friends who are Phillies fans who weren't mean to me when their team knocked off the Padres, and they're saying, it sucked that I had to be against your team, and I'm like, just go enjoy it. Like, don't try and feel bad for me. Your team's going to the World Series, and it's truly special. So thanks to everyone who was involved in my life about it. It was tough. It was tough watching that Harper home run because Robert Suarez had been so good all season. He was a monster against the Dodgers. Yeah. He was probably the biggest reason why the Padres were still in the postseason at that point. And he didn't have his best stuff that day. I mean, his fastball wasn't consistently 98, 99, 100, or even 101 like we've seen it. And he threw a bad pitch to Real Muto on 0-2 that he got a base hit. And you're like, oh boy, like you should go get him. Bob Melvin should have pulled him. I mean, that's not what this is going to be about, but that's what should have happened. And then 1-1, threw a fastball, belt high on the outside corner or on the outer half. And I looked to my roommate, Pat, and I said, he better not throw that pitch again. And the next pitch was a high fastball that Harper fouled off. And then the next pitch was a changeup that started about thigh high and dropped a couple inches below the zone. And I have no idea how Bryce Harper took that pitch. It was one of the best takes I've ever seen. It was probably one of the best takes of Bryce Harper's illustrious baseball career. And the next pitch, Robert Suarez threw that pitch. I told him not to throw again. And Bryce Harper did not miss it because he is that guy. And I don't want to like be all high and mighty, and I've been like defending Bryce Harper, but like there were years in Washington where people were like, Bryce Harper is so overrated. He's like he's
never on
so not saying you were, but there are some people like he's overrated.
I don't know how people thought that, to be quite honest.
Some people are dumb, and
dumb. It is not illegal to be stupid in this country.
Yeah, You can have you can vote your opinion in the country and not get executed for it. And unfortunately, in the sports world, sometimes it gets annoying. But I've always been a big fan of Bryce Harper. He goes about his business, I think, the right way, and he's very passionate. You can tell he wants to win, and it's unfortunate that his passion for winning had to come against the Padres in the postseason. I don't think the Phillies, and I mean we'll talk about it, are going to do much against the Astros in the World Series
I
because the
disagree.
Astros are that good.
I
We'll
disagree.
we'll talk about it, but I mean
Yes, you will.
he was on a mission to get the Phillies to the World Series, and boy did he do that because
Mission
the,
doesn't stop
there were there were a lot of players on that team that heavily contributed in that series. I mean, Zach Wheeler had two exceptional starts. Kyle Schwarber hit 3 home runs. Reese Hoskins hit 3 home runs, or he hit 4 home runs. But Bryce Harper hit 3 home runs, but he had so many other hits, so many long at bats. He was far and away the best player in that series, and you can see why he's a two-time MVP, why he was the number one overall pick, why he was touted as one of the best prospects ever, like
there.
on the face of Sports Illustrated.
People hate his attitude, but you can have that ego when you can consistently back it up.
I don't think it's his ego. I mean, it's just like he knows when he's right, and he's passionate about winning. Like if you're,
And who's not passionate about winning?
it's so dumb when people like make fun of athletes and like say
Yeah.
like, oh wow, they got a temper. Like, not if they want to win, and if they lose, they work their ass off to win. And Manny Machado is the same exact way, and people have given him more crap about it. But like when he loses or when he does something wrong or when an umpire makes a bad call, and they know the umpire made the bad call, they let him know. They throw stuff. They are mad. They want to win. They want to help their team win. And if they can't do that, they're going to be upset. And there's nothing wrong with that. But man, it sucked to watch Bryce Harper do what he did this weekend. And I knew as soon as that ball was hit that it was crushed. I didn't know if it was going to get over the fence, and it only did by a couple of rows. But
Yeah.
I just put my face in my hands, and I didn't say anything for about 7 minutes. It was tough, but it was also fitting that the Padres season ended with a Robert Suarez blown save, which is just how it started on opening day. And I was there at Chase Field when he came in, faced 3 batters, walked 2 of them, hit another one, and was promptly pulled before Craig Stammen allowed a walk-off 3-run home run. It was tough, but I've focused on the positives. I mean, like if the same thing happens again next year, say the Padres make it to the NLCS and lose Game 5, I'll be significantly more disappointed. But you know what I mean? I can't help but look back on the fact that there were so many fun memories watching Padres games this year. My first walk-off home run, Manny Machado absolutely smacked that ball. That was my second walk-off home run. But I've seen a handful of walk-offs, but that ball was sent to the moon. Some insanely good starts. Just watching a lot of fun baseball and watching it with a lot of my friends, and of course my family, who I go to the majority of the games with. Just thinking about those memories, thinking about watching those playoff games in New York, and being able to celebrate the fact that I was able to go home for one game, one home playoff game. And if the Padres got swept by the Dodgers, I would say, you know what? I got to go home for a playoff game. Something I hadn't been able to do for 16 years, and I have zero memories of that playoff game against the Cardinals back in 2006. I remember getting pulled from school to go to it, but I remember nothing from that game other than just being there. And then to not only that, celebrate the Game 2 win in Dodger Stadium, a playoff victory from here in Arizona, and realizing, okay, I now get to go to not one, but 2 Padres playoff games. Not only that, they won the first one 2-1, which never would have thought the Padres would beat the 111 win Dodgers 2-1 in a playoff game. 2-1. Unbelievable pitching performances in that game. And then the next day, I get to see San Diego's own Joe Musgrove go out and not have his best stuff, but fight through it. And then the 7th inning stretch, highway to the danger zone. I've got my noisemaker in hand, and then a single and then another single, and then another single, and then a double, and then a single, and then a single, and Petco Park went absolutely nuts. It was unbelievable. I mean, a lot of people say I'm the biggest Padre fan they know. I mean, I have the pleasure of knowing so many massive Padres fans. We truly have one of the best fan bases in all of baseball. I don't think people understand how strong and passionate this fan base is. This fan base has received practically nothing over time. It had been 24 years since the Padres won a playoff series in front of fans since 1998. They had lost 7 straight playoff games at home, 2 in the NLCS in 98, 2 in the World Series in 98, 1 in 2005, and then 2 in 2006 before they were able to win that playoff game or those 2 playoff games against the Dodgers. And Padre fans continue to show up. Everyone always jokes Dodger Stadium South, it's true. Uh, Oracle South, it's true. Wrigley West, it's true. Those fans show up because they're heavily represented in San Diego, and Padres fans know they can sell those tickets. So that way they can watch more miserable baseball for a cheaper price. But Padres fans have always shown up when this team loses, always in the middle of the pack in attendance, despite being bottom of the barrel in terms of wins, bottom of the barrel in terms of payroll. And we are so lucky to have an ownership that's committed to winning and have put a winning product on the field, or at least attempted in previous years, 2015, 2016, 2019, despite losing a lot. They tried, and Padres fans showed up. Padres fans will show up. San Diego is a sports town. We have truly one of the best fan bases in all of sports. Everyone always talks about the bigger cities having the bigger fan bases and the better fan bases, and the Padres fan base isn't that big. And there are 100% a lot of casual fans, a lot of fair weather fans who only show up when the team's good. But there are several thousand Padres fans who have shown up for years at their games, and we finally got to watch the Padres win a playoff series in San Diego, and it was truly special. It was quite the atmosphere. I wish it could have lasted a little bit longer, uh, but the Fire Faithful is truly awesome, and I felt like that needed to be said. A lot of Philadelphia fans in the
Well, can I chime
Philadelphia,
in real quick?
yeah,
In recent memory, a couple weeks ago, I went to my first Padres game at Petco
mhm,
Park. Friar Faithful is very underestimated,
yeah.
very
There were
underappreciated.
40,000 people in a
To
game
say the
on
least.
Sunday, Ryan. There were 40,000 people there.
That is one of the best ballpark experiences I've ever had. Not just because of the park itself. I will still say it's the best park in baseball, but also the fans. Man, are they insane, and I love it. It reminds me of when I go to Arrowhead for Chiefs games. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it was awesome, and like I know a lot of great Padres fans, a lot of fans who probably didn't handle it as well as I did this past weekend. Of course, my parents who have raised me as Padre fans.
That's their fault.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Mr. and Mrs. Stern. You know I have nothing but respect for you, and mostly for your son.
Yeah. The season ticket holders that we have sat next to back in 2015, we didn't really get to know any of them back in 2016. There are a couple of people who sat in the row behind us that were really cool. Forget their names. Sitting next to Jerry or sitting behind Jerry and his family, they're awesome. Sitting next to Angel and his family, they're awesome. My teachers, Mr. Black, Mr. Pollock, they're awesome. Padre fans have been here for a long time. And I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but neither of my parents grew up Padre fans. My dad kind of grew up a Braves fan back on the East Coast because he could watch
That's a
those
Woj
games.
bomb by Dominic Stern.
And my mom grew up a Dodgers fan.
Oh, I knew that. You told me about that.
But
You did tell me about that. I knew that one.
but when she lived in San Diego, she stayed with her college roommate and her mom, Mrs. Karen, and my mom became a Padres fan because of Miss Karen, and she passed away last summer. It was really tough on us. Really hope the Padres can win the championship for her. It was You know, they sucked last year in the last half of the season, but
Come here, buddy.
thanks. Ryan's hugging me for those of you listening on Blaze Radio. But really hope the Padres can win a championship soon because you know how many Padres fans have seen a World Series, Ryan? 0. So there's going to be a lot of tears shed. You know, the Cubs won 108 years. The Red Sox went, you know, nearly 100, but the Padres have never won a World Series. And we have a very passionate fan base that really wants to see one. And the city is going to burn down what happens. I thought it was going to burn down last weekend. Oh, what a party that was.
I've been fortunate, to say the least. My teams have been relatively bad, especially the Royals, but I had a lucky 2-year stretch, to say the least. Then the Chiefs just weren't that great until Andy Reid came along. But I definitely feel a sentiment about winning it for someone because, you know, last year after the historic Bills-Chiefs game in the divisional round, my grandma passed away.
Yeah.
That's what made the AFC Championship so hard was because her last breaths were watching the Chiefs
They won
against the Bills. And I just wanted them to win it for her.
Yeah.
So
they didn't win the AFC Championship game, but you got to see one of the most thrilling wins in like NFL history.
One of the best comebacks ever in 13 seconds. So can't complain.
And that's what makes sports so special is that it bonds people together. You know, it bonds our families. It bonds communities. It bonds people across the world because, I mean, like there are Padres fans, not a lot across the world, but there are a lot of Padres fans outside of California. There's a lot of Chiefs fans outside of Missouri and Kansas City because Chiefs play in Missouri. Don't forget it.
Chiefs belong to Kansas because they had the Rams. They had the Rams.
Yes. But one day the Padres are hopefully going to win a World Series. Obviously, playing in the same division as the Dodgers really hinders it.
By the tweet that I saw earlier, and I know you
2024.
You quote tweeted
2024. But yeah, congratulations to the Phillies. I mean, they have a very passionate fan base. One that told a lot of my favorite players that they suck this weekend, and some of it's true, some of it's not.
It happens.
It's, you know, I mean, they've seen a World Series in their lifetime, so I was really hoping that the Padres could get past them. I know that a lot of baseball fans were really rooting for the Padres. A lot of fans, even of the NL West, were rooting for the Padres. And because you either had to root for the New York Yankees, who are easily one of the most hated teams in baseball because they have 27 rings. They don't have beards because they're so stuck up.
I agree with that statement.
Yeah, they had to root for the Philadelphia Phillies, and I know most people don't want to root for the city of Philadelphia because their fan base is very mean.
Am I the only one that doesn't mind it?
I mean, I don't care, but like a lot of people do.
You know, and I know for a lot of people it's pick your poison, but the correct poison in this situation
is the Houston Astros.
No, it's the Phillies. I would never root for the Astros. There's two redeeming things about the Astros. Dusty Baker and Kyle Tucker. I like Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Tucker never cheated.
Yeah.
But
the only two redeeming pieces of that. Love Bryce Harper. Huge Nola fan. I want the Phillies to win, and I think they're going to.
Oh, you think the Phillies are going to win? That's news. But no one's going to root for the Astros that isn't an Astros fan. Maybe the NL East fans who are just like so deprived of wanting to root against the Phillies. But I mean, like what the Astros did to baseball, it totally changed it. Not for the better, unfortunately. So it sucks knowing that everyone in the baseball world was going to be rooting for the Padres because, you know, the Dodgers fans weren't going to be rooting for the Astros. Like, as much as Padres fans annoy the heck out of Dodgers fans, and as crushing as it was for Dodgers fans to see their 111-win team evaporate to the small market team down south, they hate the Astros for what they did in 2017.
Yeah.
And you also know the Giants fans probably wouldn't root for the Astros because they're very intelligent fan base. They know what the Astros did.
I don't know. Jack Loder's part of that fan base. I don't know.
He's a pretty intelligent fan. As annoying as Jack Loder is, shout out to you if you're listening, Jack. He's a very intelligent fan.
Jack Loder and intelligence don't go hand in hand that often.
Yeah.
I was his roommate for a year.
Yeah,
Watching sports with that guy is
pretty
like
insufferable.
the death penalty.
Uh, but it sucks, and we had World Series tickets. I was super excited to go. It didn't work out for me to go home for the NLCS,
Yeah.
but
Hey, if it makes you feel better, I almost went. I almost bought tickets for Game 7 of the 2014 World Series.
that would have sucked.
Do you know how depressed I would have been? With how high up I would have been sitting, I had the best pathway to my car, just jumping off.
Oh, all right. There you have it from Ryan. But like I said, I'm thinking about all the good memories, and it always complain about how hard it is being a Padres fan because there just hasn't been any good memories. I can finally stop complaining about it because this year, brought so many good memories. Last year did too. Obviously the heartbreak of the last 2 months of that season was brutal, but like the last year and a half, and even like 2020, all I could do was watch from my couch. But there were so many fun moments watching the Padres over the last 2.5 years that I really can't say that anymore. Yeah, there were a lot of really bad years mixed in there, but I can finally look back on being a Padres fan and say, yeah, it's been fun. So you won't hear me complain. It sucked watching Bryce Harper on the bases and basically knowing that was how the Padres season was 3 outs away from ending with the bottom of the order coming up. They hadn't done anything in over a week. They tried, but it was a special postseason run for a little bit, and all they had to do was get 6 more outs, and it was going to come back to San Diego with Blake Snell on the mound, who hopefully was going to hand the ball off to Joe Musgrove the next day, and they would have had a very good shot at it, but they didn't, and now the season's over, and now we got to wait a couple more days to watch baseball again.
Yeah, and then watch the Astros. So.
It sucks watching the Astros, but you really gotta tip your cap because they are so well ran. For this organization to have so much scrutiny on it going through that rebuild early on, and then just to become an absolute powerhouse and leave, lose their coach, lose their owner, lose draft picks, lose basically all their international signing money. The turnover in that organization has been amazing, and all they do is just produce talent and get players to be the best they can be, which is what a lot of organizations have started to do. And they have money to spend too. You obviously can't ignore that, but the Astros are truly a special baseball organization. It absolutely sucks that they cheated and tarnished themselves, but you can't ignore the fact that they are extremely well run, and that they didn't deserve to win that World Series in 2017, but they absolutely deserve to be there, and they deserve all the success that they've had.
That team is on fire.
Yeah, they're 7-0 in this postseason, and yeah, they've played some close games. They easily could have lost Game 4 to the Dodgers. They easily could have lost Game 3 to the Mariners. They didn't score until the 18th inning.
They could have lost all 3 of those games.
They could have been swept by the Mariners.
And that's a huge reason why I think the Phillies are going to win. They didn't hit above 250 against the Yankees.
No, the Astros have not hit that well.
It's just that the Yankees' offense was dead. It's like once Judge went cold, the whole offense went cold. So I think that this is going to be a series where the hotter team prevails. The better offense right now is the Phillies. And my whole thing against Phillies' entire playoffs was that their bullpen is not strong enough. That bullpen looks really good right now. So with how they are clicking on every aspect of the game, I think they win it in 6.
You think the Phillies win in 6? And
I also think there's a chance there's a chance, in my opinion, that they sweep at home.
Yeah, and that's why I think the Astros win in 6, is because I think the Astros win all 3 games at home. But I think that they're going to find a way to win 1 game in Philly, and that's where they win that series. You talk about the Phillies bullpen, and it's obviously been discussed quite a bit because their bullpen has pretty historically bad over the last 5 years. And they have a lot of talented arms out there. Alvarado and Dominguez are the two most talented. Those guys are just firing the ball right now. And if it wasn't for Dominguez pitching in the rain, he'd have a perfect postseason right now because the Padres were able to get across a run against him when they brought him in the rain, which was dumb that they were playing baseball in the rain, but I digress. It was the only reason the Padres were able to come back and have a chance of winning Game 5. But they have a couple of arms in there that they absolutely trust right now. And they have a couple arms out there that are okay. And you can maybe throw in the 5th or the 6th inning and you say, all right, you're going to keep us in the ball game. Yeah. That is exactly what the 2019 Nationals were. They had great starting pitching, which the Phillies absolutely have. Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler.
Syndergaard, who has postseason experience and World Series experience.
Yep.
That's going to be massive.
Yeah. Ranger Suarez has been good too.
And you can even pull him out, put him in the bullpen, have him come out of the bullpen. But I think he's a solid Game 4 starter.
He threw 2 pitches.
Yeah.
I
trust Ranger Suarez, man.
Yeah, they absolutely have the pieces. The problem is I think the Astros are better than them at every single position except for that big left-handed power bat, which is even debatable if the Phillies have the better guy because Yordan Alvarez is that good and Bryce Harper is that good.
Harper better.
Sure. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you on that, but Alvarez is a menace.
My last show, and I'll go through it right now. Look at the Phillies lineup. You have a lot of go-to guys that can get a hit.
Oh, yeah.
Look,
their lineup is so deep. Segura's batting 8th.
Castellanos.
Yeah.
You've got even Alec Bohm, Harper, Schwarber, who I think is going to get going. I think it's only a matter of time.
I mean, he hit 3 home runs in 5 games in the NLCS. He is going. He had a lot of other good hits, too.
He's going to keep it going.
Yeah.
They have 5 to 6 guys that can go up and get hit anytime. That you could look to and be like, hey, go get me a hit. The Astros, I see 3 go-to for sure with Yordan, Bregman, Altuve. I'll put Jeremy Payton in there, sure.
And Kyle Tucker, you just talked about Kyle Tucker.
And even Kyle Tucker, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll put those guys there. I just think the deeper lineup is the Phillies because you said it. Segura's batting 8th.
I think that...
Also, you don't see a glaring weakness at the bottom of the order like you do with Maldonado.
Yeah, but even Maldonado's been producing this postseason. It's unbelievable.
Ridiculous.
Like, if Maldonado hits, the Astros are the greatest team ever. Like, not obviously an exaggeration, but Maldonado, what he does defensively for that team, anything he gives you offensively is such a big plus.
Yeah.
And the fact that he has been a plus hitter on top of playing defensively for them is insane. They are so good. And their backup catcher is Christian Vasquez. So if you want to give him an off day, like, you're not really losing that much. They are such a special team. Their pitching staff is one of the best that we've ever seen. 1 through 4 on the mound is just electric. You got Verlander rolling Game 1, Framber Valdez rolling Game 2.
And I think the Phillies get to one of them.
They'll get to one. Sure.
I think they get to one of them.
Now, the one thing that I think the Phillies have going for them is that the staff is extremely right-handed heavy for the Astros.
Yes.
They have Framber Valdez, and I believe they have one reliever who's left-handed.
Yes.
Now, they'll throw Neris against lefties because he's a split baller. So, like, the pitch is just going to dive against lefties and run a little bit away from the barrel. But, I mean, if you're the Phillies, you have to really be liking your opportunities with Kyle Schwarber at the plate, with Bryce Harper at the plate, with Brandon Marsh at the plate, with Bryson Stott, who's had a really good postseason. He's had a lot of clutch hits for them. Even though his batting average won't show it. I mean, it felt – I said it before he hit a double that chased Yu Darvish from the game. There's no way that Bryson Stott is hitting below 200 in this postseason. And, of course, he hit a double right then after. You really like those guys' opportunities to just stick them in the lineup and say, all right, you're going to go ball. The only lefty you're probably going to be facing the series is Framber Valdez, who is insanely good.
Yeah.
But that bullpen for the Astros is unbelievable. Neris, who I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Got
Neris
Brian Abreu, Rafael Montero, Ryan Presley, Ryan Stanek. They are disgusting.
Quick little side note. I coached with Ryan Stanek's brother.
Nice.
Baseball. His brother.
Was that this past summer or was that 2 summers ago?
2 summers ago.
2 summers ago, yeah.
super chill guy. But
Cool, big flex, by the way.
yes, he was awesome. He and I actually coached together in a tournament. We won the tournament because we coached the same team for a tournament. Yeah. Okay.
That's how you win a tournament together.
Yeah. We were those guys. We were that good.
We were those guys.
You made the Phillies have those guys that they can go to and they can trust. Honestly, if you bring Eflin out of the bullpen, I think you can trust him for an inning or two.
Yeah.
And I think that is where he will serve his role in the World Series, is where he comes out of the bullpen for an inning or two. Dominguez is there, Alvarado, Robertson. They have the key guys there to where the bullpen can do it. And the bullpens look great. They shut down the offense for the Padres, which I didn't think would happen. So,
well, here's the thing: is that the Padres' offense outside of those 2 games against the Mets wasn't really that good. Like, they put up 5 runs in Game 2 against the Dodgers.
There's still a lot of firepower in that offense, is what I'm saying, and you know that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some firepower. There's a lot of hitters in that lineup who have been very inconsistent, borderline bad this year.
Yeah.
Austin Nola, not a good hitter. Trent Grisham had a horrible year at the plate. Jerickson Profar, very, very streaky and doesn't have a ton of power, even though he had 15 home runs, not a power hitter. Didn't really get on base that much. Will Myers, very inconsistent year. Brandon Drury, very inconsistent against righties. Josh Bell was horrible as a Padre. And they scored in 3 innings. 3 innings against the Dodgers at Petco Park. So I wasn't that surprised to see the Padres not hit that Phillies staff all that well. Yeah. I thought the pitching staff would hold them down a little bit more. And, I mean, the Phillies pitching staff throws hard. Wheeler is unbelievable. Talk about another guy that I remember being in the studio a little under 3 years ago saying that Zach Wheeler is going to be a fantastic pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies and that they did not overpay him. And
I believe I agree with you.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And so did Cole. I mean, we were 100% right on him, and that was such a scrutinized move. He has been so good this postseason. Locked down the Cardinals. Was really good against the Braves in their only loss at home this postseason. Or no, that was on the road. But that's one of their 2 losses this postseason. Aaron Nola is an unbelievable pitcher that the Padres are somehow 3-0 against in the last 2 years. And they showed up against Aaron Nola. And then Ranger Suarez has been an insanely underrated pitcher over the last 2 years. Syndergaard's good. I mean, that bullpen, it was frustrating that the Padres offense did exactly what they needed to do against the Phillies bullpen in that bullpen game, but it didn't matter. Sean Manaea and Mike Clevenger absolutely sold on the San Diego Padres. And Bob Melvin did not have a good managerial series.
Really?
And Bob Melvin has not been good in the postseason in the past. You can ask any A's fan that question. Yeah. They'll admit that. It's exactly what Parker, our friend, told me. He's like, yeah, Bob Melvin doesn't exactly have the best postseason track record. But credit to Bob. I mean, he won his first real postseason series in front of fans. He hadn't done that previously with the Diamondbacks, with the A's, with the Mariners. He came to San Diego. He won a 3-game series on the road against the Mets, won a 5-game series against the Dodgers. And Bob Melvin is such a good coach because no one believes in the players on his team more than Bob Melvin. Not the other assistant coaches, not the front office, not even the players themselves. No one more than Bob Melvin does. And it works like mad in the regular season. But it's his biggest downfall in the postseason because he rides players just 1 or 2 rides the pitchers 1 or 2 more batters than he needs to. He doesn't necessarily make.
Reminds me of in this situation.
Who?
Ned Yost at the end of his tenure with the Royals.
Yeah,
was terrible at it. So and you can see it. He kind of just tries to get them to do a little too much. As a coach, you can feel when your pitchers run its course where it's time to make a move. But with Melvin, he also just tries to say, okay, he's got us where his limit is, but let's see if we can push him even more. And it's kind of that balance like a car hanging off of a cliff, and a lot of the times it goes over.
Yeah. It sucks to watch
Yeah.
because Joe Musgrove pitched to a couple too many batters in
Yep.
game number 3. It was tied 3-3, and there was 2 strikes on Nick Castellanos. I think he was about to throw his 100th pitch. 0-2 count, like I said. Austin Nola sets up way outside, and Musgrove doesn't quite finish on that slider. Ends up on the outside corner. It wasn't a bad pitch, but it's not where it was called. In 0-2, you should not throw breaking pitches in the zone. I mean, every baseball fan knows that. Pitch caught the plate. Castellanos was out in front because he was fooled. He was looking fastball, but he stayed back on it just enough, and the pitch was in the zone, so he was able to keep it fair on the left field line for a double. That should be an instant sign. Hey, Nola wants to pitch off the plate. My pitcher's thrown 100 pitches. Let's go to the bullpen. This batter's already seen him twice. Let's keep this game tied. We don't need – you can go to Pierce Johnson. You can go to Steven Wilson. You can go to any of your right-handers. You need to get that out and make sure that runner stays on second and that game's tied. But he kept Musgrove in, and first pitch to Bohm. Nola is calling a fastball on the inside corner because Bohm hasn't turned on anything this entire series. Pitch is right down the middle. Bohm fires it into right. Juan Soto almost made the catch of his life, and Padres fans were like, oh, you can't dive, or like, come on, Soto, you suck defensively. You're right, but it was almost an incredible play, and all of a sudden the Padres were losing, and they never caught up again.
Yeah.
Next game, starting Mike Clevenger when he has a knee issue. They should have started Sean Manaea, and Sean Manaea has never pitched out of the bullpen in a playoff game before. He's only started. Doesn't have the best track record starting in the playoffs, but you know what? He's fresh. Sean Manaea should have started that game. Or you start an opener, and you get the opener through 4 batters, and then you bring in Sean Manaea, not against those top 4. And Mike Clevenger didn't record an out. He didn't record an out. He was awful.
Yeah.
And then you go to the bullpen, and Nick Martinez was lights out. And you go to Sean Manaea, which I don't think was a horrible move, but Sean didn't have the location. He just didn't. His stuff was electric, but his fastball is only good when it's high. Anytime the pitch was low, the Phillies just took it because he knew it was an off-speed pitch. And then anytime the fastball was over the middle of the plate, they crushed it. And he tried to get Bryce Harper out. Who do you want pitching against Bryce Harper? Your starting pitcher who had a 5+ ERA this year, or a relief pitcher who's been really good this year? All of a sudden, the lead that you just got back after you blew a 4-0 lead is gone again. And then riding Bob Suarez, who has been unbelievable this postseason, against Bryce Harper, when you have Josh Hader, who you gave up a ton for, who your organization has wanted for so long.
Yeah.
And if you get through Harper, Castellanos, and Bohm, you can go to another reliever against the bottom of the order if you don't want to try and stretch out Hader for 6 outs. That's fine. You don't even have to go to Garcia, who got a couple outs the night before. You can go to someone else. But he's stuck with Suarez, whose fastball wasn't as high in terms of velocity as it had been previously, who wasn't getting it as high in the zone as he had been consistently in the playoffs. He didn't have it. And he pitched him against the best hitter on their team, right on left. It didn't work. And it sucked. And a lot of people were criticizing the decision to keep Christian and have him bunt. I don't necessarily agree with that because Azokar was already burned. So you would have had to kill the DH and put Myers in the outfield. And either Profar, Myers, or Soto was going to have to play center field. And that just would have been a disaster waiting to happen. And Grisham has been a fantastic bunter all year. With a left-handed pitcher on the mound, if he gets a good bunt down the first base line, I think he probably gets a hit. In worst-case scenario, which it was, you move the go-ahead run into second because the Padres couldn't afford to have that game go to extra innings. If it had to, you'll take it.
Yeah.
But you made the left-handed pitcher field a bunt, and anyone who knows a decent amount about baseball knows that left-handed pitchers, it's much harder for them to field their position than a right-handed pitcher because they got to spin. It's in the rain.
Fielders can only really play first base.
Right.
Lefties play outfield and pitch for a reason. It's because it's such a harder play to make when you're on the infield. I remember when I played competitive baseball in like 5th grade, we had a kid who was lefty playing second base, and a lot of kids would be safe because he has to do that extra spin on a ball that's up the middle and he forehands it. It's a harder play to make than having a right-handed infielder. That's why they only play first and pitch.
And unless you're the second baseman on the Enjoys in the outfield, I digress. Don't even get me started on that.
Wait. I thought he was still our catcher.
No, he was playing second in the playoffs.
Well, we have a new first and second base tandem. George and I are just flipping between the two.
Okay. But it sucked. And then Nola, who had caught every single Padres postseason game, which speaks a lot about the catching situation for the San Diego Padres. And,
Alfaro.
Yeah, Alfaro, they clearly entrust him behind the plate, which I don't. But
let's effing go, San Diego.
Oh yeah, legend. But you can't really justify having him.
So when's Campusano going to start?
Right. I mean that's the thing is, if you can't trust putting a better hitter, a hitter who has more than one hit over the last 4.5 games, and his hit was awesome. It was against his brother, and it really kind of got the rally started.
Oh, that sparked it all.
Yeah. But that was his only hit in the NLCS. His only hit.
That's okay.
They needed to put in Alfaro, who had crushed lefties, or Campusano, who was supposed to crush lefties. There were other right-handed bats on the Padres bench that are much better hitters than Austin Nola. And you talk about the discipline of Jorge Alfaro and how there is none. Well, I mean, it's not like Ranger Suarez, who's a lefty, is going to get a lot of guys to chase. Like, he's a ground ball pitcher. He throws a sinker and a curveball. I think Alfaro could pick that up. It just was tough. It sucked. And Bob Melvin's greatest strength is his downfall in the postseason, and that's what sucks.
Hey, think about it this way. Your team was not swept like the Yankees were.
Yeah, Padres got third. Yankees got fourth.
I was shocked by that series, dude. I really was.
What about the Yankees?
Would at least scrape a game or two.
Yeah, I mean, I figured they'd win a game or two, but like that offense outside of Aaron Judge all year
was terrible in the playoffs.
Yeah, and
Judge was really bad. I did not expect that at all. You saw him get cold at the end of the regular season, but I thought maybe the playoffs would rejuvenate him. I don't know, but he was bad.
Here's why I'm not that shocked. I mean, all the pressure in the world has been on him in that lineup all year, and now when you're
especially with injuries,
and in the regular season, you can allow you kind of have to pitch to him. They didn't have to because no like good pitchers had to fear pitching out of the strike zone against him. Because they said, all right, if we walk him,
we walk him.
We walk him. I'm not scared to face Anthony Rizzo, who's okay this year.
I think Anthony Rizzo fits that fold so well in New York.
Yeah, there's rumors that he's going to opt out, and we'll talk about all this going forward on the Golden Sombrero show throughout the offseason.
If he were to opt out.
Yeah,
but I think that series just showed
how flawed that team build is.
Yes.
It's incredibly flawed.
Yeah.
It's been flawed. It's why they haven't been able to get through and make it to the World Series. And I feel bad for the Yankees fans because every single year, and every single year, it's if we don't win the World Series, we are going to be disappointed in the season's a failure. And while that is certainly true for some other teams,
how this season started, it is a failure.
But the way the season started was because Aaron Judge was magical. Yeah. They had pitchers way outperforming what they should, and other hitters stepped up when they needed to.
But I want to bring a funny little tidbit in here.
Yeah.
With Joey Gallo on the roster, 70-34. Without him, 32-33. That's a culture setter right there.
And Joey Gallo, you know how many at-bats he took for the Dodgers in the playoffs against the Padres? 0. He took 0 at-bats.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the power to win in the playoffs because that's what it truly matters.
Yeah.
They were playing Trace Thompson. Why were they playing Trace Thompson?
I don't think that's the worst thing that happened for them. I don't think that's the worst thing. Trace Thompson was terrific in the regular season.
Yeah, but it's not the playoffs.
In the postseason.
Is Trace Thompson the guy you want playing for you in the playoffs? No. He's
No.
not Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo has been there and done that consistently
Also, I
throughout
would
his
put Gallo
career.
in way before Chris Taylor. Taylor was terrible.
And Chris Taylor wasn't healthy.
He was terrible.
Dave Roberts masterclass. Anyways, Joey Gallo is a stud.
Well, you
Whoever
mentioned-
signs him in free agency is going to be happy. If he's
You
a Padre,
mentioned something.
Joey Gallo is going to be a Padre. I'll
just
put that on the
mentioned
record right now.
Dave Roberts, so now I want to flip the script. Should Aaron Boone be fired? I think so.
Yeah, I mean, so the problem with Aaron, and it's the same thing with Dave Roberts. They are incredible leaders.
Yes.
They are absolutely incredible leaders, and I think that if anyone denies that, they are stupid and they don't watch the
When it
games.
comes to
They just watch the results.
Ins and outs of baseball, making those managerial decisions.
They're not great. They're not great. And Dave Roberts absolutely rides the talent in the regular season, and they win a lot of
Once
games.
he needs to go make the move to get his team to win a game in the postseason,
It doesn't
he
happen.
crumbles.
It doesn't happen, and it never has. And you know what? It probably never will, being completely honest. And that's why I thought this year was going to be different, because they just won games dominantly this year. And it wasn't. It was shocking.
They lost 51 times. They had 111 wins. This was the year. But you go and make a terrible decision bringing in Tommy Kahnle. You continue to ride guys who were hitting terribly. Like, you have to know when to make a switch. And you can say the same thing about Bob Melvin in the NLCS, especially at catching, like you said. But this is not just a one-year thing with Dave Roberts. This is year after year after year.
Yeah. And
you know what? Same with Aaron Boone ever since he took over. He keeps making poor decisions. Also, I don't think he's the first person that should be fired by the Yankees. I think Cashman should. I think Cashman he doesn't know how to construct the right team.
Well, I mean, he constructs
it. Gio Urshela for Josh Johnson. I would.
And Isaiah Kiner-Falefa.
I think that was.
He also traded Gary Sanchez, which I thought was a good. Gary Sanchez is a bum.
But for Donaldson, I would not have wanted that contract, especially with Gio Urshela. In my opinion,
he's a good third baseman.
I think he's better than Donaldson.
Yeah, and the problem with the Yankees is that they are unathletic and they are right-handed dominant. They'll walk, but they hit home runs, and that's it.
That's why they went back and re-signed Rizzo to get that left-handed bat. But they need more than one. They need more than one left-handed bat. That's why they went out and got Benintendi. Then Benintendi got hurt. So I think that if you're the Yankees, you just have to kind of scrap it. First thing you do is get Judge back.
Yeah.
Sign him, give him what he wants.
And like the hard thing about scrapping is that they win. They've made the playoffs. I don't think they did not make it in 2016, right? They missed that year.
They missed that year.
But they've made it now 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. They've made it in 6 straight years. It's hard to fire the general manager when you do that, because he's clearly building a good team, but they're not building a team to win the World Series.
The right team.
And
he's trying to go out and try to make the one move that'll get you over, but he's not making the right move to do that.
And the problem is that you don't know what would have happened in 2017 if the Astros weren't cheating. I mean, that's kind of the reality of it. They won 4 games at home. You like to think the Yankees maybe could have won another one. We truly don't know like the real extent to which the Astros were cheating in the postseason. It's tough, but I'm not surprised the Yankees got absolutely outclassed by an Astros team that's better than them at every single facet of the game. Maybe except the power department, but like when you can just throw fastballs right by them, and then when they're sitting on fastballs, just throw breaking balls out of the zone and they're going to chase.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah.
That Yankees fans just constantly just get put through the ringer of the same roster for the last 7 years or the last 6 years.
There's got to be a change somewhere.
Yeah, and I don't know what the build is looking like. In terms of some of their prospects. I mean, Dominguez is exciting.
They don't use their prospects, especially pitching prospects. Very rarely do they use that talent. No. And that's a huge issue. What the Yankees used to do to make them the best was go buy and spend money. But they're not even doing that now. It's just like they think they've built the right team, and they just need to break through.
Yeah.
You need to make a change somewhere if you really want to be competitive and get back to the World Series and win it. There has to be a change somewhere.
It's going to be an interesting offseason for the Yankees because, I mean, like, when it was clicking this year, I mean, it was mostly around Judge
Yeah.
pitching that was way overperforming what it should have, and other players just stepping up in the most bizarre ways possible.
Yes.
And they were just winning really close games. And then, shocker, once those guys stopped stepping up, they're pitching around Judge, and he was just walking like mad. And their pitching staff finally like even out a little bit. They stopped winning at that historic rate,
Yeah.
and they barely beat a decent team that can't hit in a 5-game series, and then got absolutely trounced by a much better team. So
Who wasn't even hitting well.
no, they weren't. I think this World Series is going to be close in terms of games, but I think the Astros are just they're going to find ways to get it done, and I think that they go out and they beat the
I'm riding the
Phillies in 6.
I'm riding the wave with the Phillies. They're going to win in 6. And you know what, Dom? I said this on my last show, and I hope it gives you a laugh just like it did for them.
Okay.
You know, Dom, I'm a bigger guy. I wouldn't say I'm fat. I'm not skinny. I'm kind of in that range.
Where are you going with
That
this?
gray area, okay? I have a big gut. And my gut is usually right, and my gut is telling me Phillies in 6.
All right, there it is.
See, I always take it out left field, but I always draw it back in. And that's how I drew it back in.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you.
I don't know. It's gonna be tough watching the World Series this year, like knowing that hey, the Padres are really close to being there, but they're not. Especially also like, hey, you could have been there, but such is life.
I'm just back to where I'm never here. Can we go back to the glory days of 2014 and 2015?
Yeah, not a lot of people can say they saw their team in back-to-back World Series. Astros fans in our life,
I still hate that.
Dodger fans in our life,
Yes.
Royals fans, obviously,
Royals, baby.
Phillies fans in our life,
Yes.
and even that was a long time ago. Did the Rangers fans? They didn't win one though. Like all these other teams won one at least. That's it.
Yeah.
Like
Giants is different, but they've been
Right, yeah.
continuously there.
yes.
I think they fit in that category though, where they've just been
Well,
consistently there and winning.
Well, but it's weird because they didn't make the playoffs in those other years.
Yeah.
Like you got to sit down for
Well-
2 straight seasons and watch your team play as many games as possible. Like that is an
Let's be
extraordinary
honest,
accomplishment.
I'm going to say it this way. Royals win the World Series in 14. They don't make the playoffs. They were so fueled by losing in Game 7, especially with the game-time run 90 feet away. That fueled them. That's how I see it. You know what? They might have made the playoffs, but they were not going to make the run that they did.
Yeah.
Also, I said on Running the Base, I'm going to say it now. I really need the Phillies to win Game 1. They're flirting with the Royals record, Dom. The Astros are flirting with it. 7 consecutive wins to start the postseason. The Royals have 8. I want that record still for the Royals.
Fair enough.
At least Phillies win Game 2. You know what? I'll share it. That's fine. Sharing is caring. But do not mess with the Royals record.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm certainly rooting for the Phillies because, I don't want to root for the Astros. I have a couple of friends who you also share, Mac Friday, amongst others, Zach Woolley. Also have a couple other people here in Blaze that are Astros fans. That I'd be happy to see them win a championship that people aren't going to give them crap for cheating. But definitely want to see that organization lose. But it would be cool to see Dusty Baker win.
I really like Dusty. I really do.
But what we referenced at the beginning of the show, and this is what we'll close
Rob
with.
Thompson, though, what he's done, I think it'd be so cool if he finished it with World Series. I think it'd be so cool.
What we kind of started the show alluding towards, someone tweeted out after the Nationals won the World Series. 2020 was going to be the Dodgers. 2021 was going to be the Braves. 2022 was going to be the Phillies, which has a chance. 2023 is the Mariners, and that same person said the Padres in 2024. So,
hey, you better bookmark that tweet.
Yeah.
You better bookmark that tweet. You have to now.
I will.
But I really think that this series is going to be a really fun one.
I hope so. I really wish the Padres were there, but
Me too.
No regrets. Very happy with the season, and I'm definitely not disappointed. Sad it had to end. Thank you all for tuning into the Golden Sombrero Show. Next week's Halloween. I don't think we're going to be in here.
We're going to celebrate.
Yes. So that'll be a fun night. No Golden Sombrero Show next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and hopefully Cole Bradley.
We'll have a World Series winner.
Yes. Hopefully Cole Bradley will be joining us. I'm Dominic Stern.
Confident in that.
It's Ryan Blank. Thank you all for tuning in. Go Padres and Royals.
Go Royals, baby.
Yeah.